High moral character is not a precondition for great moral accomplishments. When you hear people demanding that the Ten Commandments be displayed in courtrooms and schoolrooms, always be sure to ask which set. It works every time. Primate and elephant and even pig societies show considerable evidence of care for others, parent-child bonding, solidarity in the face of danger, and so on. Read with care George Orwell's diaries from the years 1931 to 1949 can greatly enrich our understanding of how Orwell transmuted the raw material of everyday experience into some of his best-known novels and polemics. Millions of people die every day. Everyone's got to go sometime. People until I was 60 would always say they thought I looked younger, which I think, without flattering myself, I did. But I think I certainly have, as George Orwell says people do after a certain age, the face they deserve. Not many people come through esophageal cancer and live to talk about it, or not for long. I learned that very often the most intolerant and narrow-minded people are the ones who congratulate themselves on their tolerance and open-mindedness. There are all kinds of stupid people that annoy me, but what annoys me most is a lazy argument. To choose dogma and faith over doubt and experience is to throw out the ripening vintage and to reach greedily for the Kool-Aid. I mean, what would I be doing if I couldn't write? But that fortunately hasn't proved to be the case, and I can read any day. I still read a lot, and I can write any day, but much more slowly and fewer words. A lot of people, because of my contempt for the false consolations of religion, think of me as a symbolic public opponent of that in extremis, and sometimes that makes me feel a bit alarmed to be the repository of other people's hope. All the time, I've felt that life is a wager, and that I probably was getting more out of leading a bohemian existence as a writer than I would have if I didn't. The totalitarian to me is the enemy, the one that's absolute, the one that wants control over the inside of your head, not just your actions and your taxes. Every now and then I will see a word as if for the first time, and suddenly appreciate that Evian is naive spelled backward, or that Bosnia is an anagram of bonsai. The concept of loneliness and exile and self-sufficiency continually bucks me up. When we talk about mortality, we are talking about our children. The Quran shows every sign of being thrown together by human beings, as do all the other holy books. George Bush made a mistake when he referred to the Saddam Hussein regime as evil. Every liberal and leftist knows how to titter at such black and white moral absolutism. I love it when Muslims go to war with each other, as I do when the Christians do, because it shows there's no such thing as the Christian world and the Islamic world. That's all crap. Literature, not scripture, sustains the mind, and since there is no other metaphor, also the soul. For most of my life, I let women do the driving and was happy to let them. The secular argument, or the liberal argument, is to as much as possible remove taboos so things do not become unmentionable, to let some air into the discussion. Terrorism is the tactic of demanding the impossible and demanding it at gunpoint. I have tried for much of my life to write as if I was composing my sentences to be read posthumously. I became a journalist partly so that I wouldn't ever have to rely on the press for my information. My children, to the extent that they have found religion, have found it from me, in that I insist on at least a modicum of religious education for them. It's surprising to me how many of my friends send Christmas cards or holiday cards, including my atheist and secular friends. I took part in what was actually the last eruption of Marxist internationalism. To terrify children with the image of hell, to consider women an inferior creation, is that good for the world?